Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Today we are going to talk about we are going to reflect on what happened in NA 249. Why is it that more or less all parties were complaining about one thing or the other? And then, of course, is the matter of electoral reforms. Today, the Prime Minister of Pakistan actually tweeted about the matter as well. He pointed out that the government is working on electoral reform package. Of course, when you look at the review of that package, most of the analysts that we have actually come across, we have listened to, they are appreciative of that package as well. But it seems that while the government is pitching reform in a system where everybody in the end ends up being angry with the system and the electoral results, the opposition is in no mood to actually accept the deliberations on the matter. I say this because Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab today spoke, and he essentially spoke not about the electoral process, but the usual cultural things that we have been hearing about since past many years, for the past many years, particularly the role of establishment, this, that, and the other things. We are going to talk about all these matters and more, especially given that the government insists that EVMs, electronic voting machines, might be able to provide some solution. We are going to talk about all these matters in order to help us understand these issues. We are in the studio. I'm joined by Ahmed Jawad Saab, who is Central Information Secretary of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the ruling party. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program.
Thank you.
Naseem Siddiqui Saab joins us. He's a senior journalist, now an anchor also, an analyst of renown. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Ali Rashid Saab joins us via Skype from Karachi. He represents Pakistan People's Party. Ali Rashid Saab, thank you very much for being part of the program as well. Let me start with Ahmed Jawad Saab, then I'll go to Ali Rashid Saab, and then Naseem Siddiqui Saab. With your permission, I'll come to you. Ahmed Jawad Saab, if there is so much meat to your proposals, why not actually broaden deliberations and actually push for it rather than just tweet about these matters?
I think Prime Minister has rolled out not only the electronic voting machine idea, but a few more reforms also. And I think that would be just the beginning. It does not mean that, and he is using the word election reforms. Mm-hmm. So the election reforms are not just restricted to just electronic voting machine. Mm-hmm. So Farrukh, I think the most interesting thing is that if we go back 6 months back, two major parties of the PDM, they were blaming PTI for the election rigging.
Of
and
what? PDM?
PDM,
okay.
Two major parties of
now
PDM.
PDM, right?
I mean, one of them has left. So they were together blaming PTI for the election rigging or giving them the title of selected. And now you see the both parties are blaming each other as an outcome of the election in NA 249. Yeah. So I think now this thing is very well established that the country needs election reforms. Yeah. And it does not relate to one political party, it relates to every political party. And in NA 249, almost every political party has complained against the elections. And there are very interesting facts and figures about this election. Right. That first of all, the low turnout is almost 21%. So yeah. Imagine an election where 80% people are not even voting. Yeah. And then if you compare this election with the 2018 election, Pakistan People's Party was the last in the list, and they were just having 7,000 votes.
This time who is, I wonder who is last on the list?
People's Party with 7,000 votes. No, last time.
No, who is near the bottom this time?
I think fourth is PTI. Okay. So if you are pinpointing that,
I'm talking about major parties, right?
So you see, the low turnout has affected every party in this election compared to 2018 election, except People's Party. What a miracle!
Okay.
What a miracle! You know, they have doubled, and everybody else has reduced their votes from 2018.
Who's counting? But there are miracle workers in all parties, especially including yours. Remember Daska and the miracles on few, polling stations that actually led to the cancellation of the election.
And we have accepted the results.
Yeah, obviously, of course, you have. Let me go to the other miracle workers. Ali Rashid Saab, your take on the electoral reforms, and why is it that one of your recent allies, PMLN, is at loggerheads with your party?
Thank you so much for having me here. Well, my take on the elections was, I think even prior to the elections, we had already established the fact, and we had said that we're very confident that this time around we will be winning, because we had actually seen on ground the kind of situation which is going on, and we had been working very hard because we were kind of anticipating 249 a re-election. And in Karachi, if you see, not just in this area, a wave has come where a lot of political workers from different parties are now leaving those parties and joining our party, including PTI, MQM, PSP, etc., etc. And a lot of good work is actually being done in Karachi. And also the fact that people are just fed up with the performance of PTI. And as you can see, that they're from being the top party, now they're in the rock bottom, one of the last parties. So that speaks volumes about the outcome. But your second question, sorry, was what?
Why is it that one of your allies, PDM allies, is now actually at loggerheads with you? Secondly, when you talk about the turnout, the question is, your party could have played a role in stopping these elections, could have actually gone to the election commission. We saw random statements. Do you think that at this moment when COVID is going on, when Ramzan and heat wave is there, it was advisable to go ahead with these elections?
Very good question, Mr. Pitafi, and I'm so glad that you asked this question. We actually raised these concerns with the ECP, and the Sindh Health Ministry actually wrote to ECP saying that given the circumstances, we should postpone these elections. But PMLN started passing statements like, oh, PPP is actually running away from election, and they're scared that they lose the election, and that's why which is very sad that they were playing. Making all these statements. But that being said, we actually got a call from the former Governor Sindh, Mr. Mohammed Zubair, who called Mr. Saeed Ghani, actually requesting that maybe collectively we should request the ECP to do so and postpone the election. So we were just taken aback when Ministry of Health, which is PPP, actually requested the ECP, the kind of statements which started coming from PMLN that PPP is trying to escape or run away from the election process.
Yeah, I actually asked also about PMLN and your party's discord, but you keep on hinting at the discord, but you're not telling me why. With your permission, let me bring in the third guest who is patiently waiting for his turn. Naseem Siddiqui Saab, when PDM was really hot and heavy, at that time in one of the programs I just pointed out that if it is a question of power, they will never be together. At this moment it seems that they are once again fighting among each other. Right?
Bismillah ar-Rahman. Thank you, Farrukh. Yeah, absolutely. You were right, because when they were together in PDM and they were blaming PTI for rigging the elections, and you have seen that in Daska when there was fog as well, and I have seen in general elections that the normal results usually come at 5-6 o'clock in the morning. Even you have seen that in Baldia, Karachi.
You had to go to the fog.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just comparing that the results in Karachi came in the morning as well. So that's a usual thing in Pakistan. Sometimes it happens like that. But the main thing is that the two parties, those who signed in Charter of Democracy, that they will bring electoral reforms, but they didn't do anything when they ruled for the last 10 years, 5 years, People's Party government, and 5 years PMLN. And you can see in NA 249.
No, hang on. Let us be clear here. They did actually offer packages of electoral reforms during PMLN, especially because there was dharna. And then there were recommendations from the Supreme Court of Pakistan, actually the bench that was created, headed by Chief Justice of Pakistan, and they did bring some reform. The problem is, since 2002, all I hear is reforms.
But
how many reforms are you going to conduct to correct these things? With due respect, it was ECP's decision to go ahead with an election in very almost impossible, circumstance. I couldn't go for voting in that kind of condition. COVID is there, heat wave is there, Ramzan is there, and we are supposed to fast as well.
But it's a working day also.
Yeah, but you have seen in the past elections in Pakistan that every time it is said that whichever party is defeated, it says it's rigging. But they don't sit down together for the reforms. Like you are talking about NA 249, you can see that now both of the parties who were blaming PTI, now they're blaming each other. Rather, PMLN is blaming PPP at the moment for rigging. And now PMLN has asked for the army to help them in that constituency, whereas they were saying that they don't have to do anything with elections in the past.
But did it worry you that the election, which had 21% turnout, the results you find at 4 o'clock in the morning, shouldn't it have been calculated earlier, counted earlier?
Yeah, they should have been counted earlier because there was not that much votes as it was casted in 2018. So that should have been done by 10 o'clock, I think, or 11 p.m.
So something fishy was happening?
Yeah, it looks like, but you have to go for, that's why the reforms are required. And for that...
No, but reforms will not actually fix this problem. I mean, you realize that what you are essentially saying is that every party, when they get a chance, they get away with whatever they can. That is not good faith environment, is it?
No, but
how are you going to reform a system when nobody
reforms will come? Definitely, some idea will come that votes should be counted on that time, and things they can sit down and they can sort it out. And as you were saying, that Prime Minister has just tweeted, he wrote an letter to Speaker NA Assembly as well, and then Speaker NA Assembly, he has asked for people from both of the parties, and then I think People's Party has nominated Naveed Qamar, but PMLN is not ready for the reforms. But they should sit down for these reforms. That this thing should.
Must you always approach the matter through the Speaker? The Prime Minister is the head of executive. He could have actually called up the opposition leader on telephone.
But as you know, the Speaker is the custodian of the House, he is the custodian of the Parliament.
And so Prime Minister is the custodian of democracy, right?
Absolutely.
So the Prime Minister can go ahead as well.
Contacted as well.
Let me come back to Ahmed Jawad Sahab. Ahmed Jawad Sahab, there seems to be something very interesting seems to be going on. There was a time when PDM was posing a lot of threat to the government, so much so that Yusuf Raza Gitlani Saab actually defeated your finance minister in the Senate election. Then something changes. And all of a sudden, People's Party is estranged from PMLN. They part their ways. And surprise, the person you feel for NA 249 is somebody your own workers didn't know, and they actually voted against him. So is there some kind of rapprochement going on between People's Party and PTI?
No, are you talking about the
NA 249?
249, I mean the candidate of PTI or candidate of PMLN?
No, yours.
I mean he's a worker, political worker.
Yeah.
So I think...
He is not local, is he? He's a Kashmiri.
I mean, Karachi population, a very large population comes from different provinces. They are living there, and in NA 249, I think 40% population is Pakhtun.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's not the point. Karachi is a city, as a metropolitan city. It is a city with people from all over the country, and they are living there maybe for 2 generations.
Yeah, but with due respect, this gentleman did not. And frankly, I don't know whether the protestations from your party in Karachi reached you or not. They did reach us. But here's the question. Are you taking stock of what is happening in Karachi or what happened in Karachi?
Yes, we should. First of all, I think our concern should be election reforms. That is number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, we should also evaluate the the performance of the candidate.
Okay.
Number 3, we should evaluate the performance of PTI political leadership in Karachi.
Okay.
Number 4, we should also evaluate if there is any negative sentiment in the public due to food inflation or any other governance issue. So I think when you lose an election, and if you don't want to evaluate, I mean, that's not the strategy.
Yeah.
We should evaluate, and we should draw our lessons and try to rectify them.
You're the party's official spokesman. When you are saying should, it means that it could, but it won't.
No, when I am saying this thing, it does not mean that it won't. It will be. It will be. I mean, these internal evaluation, when you are, if you have to criticize your own decisions, or if you have to criticize your own performance, I mean, this is something which is always an internal evaluation.
Right.
This does not need to be, in the media. So when I say should, I'm sure that process to some extent has already started.
And the fact that Bagda Saab actually held this seat earlier, he is electable, quite powerful, very rich man, and then all of a sudden a candidate that your own party doesn't agree on. There is no discrepancy here.
I think regarding the candidate, one thing which he qualifies, that he is a political worker of that constituency and political worker of party. He is not a landlord, he is not a rich man. I mean, it is recognition of political workers from a party to award tickets. I think that's a good thing, that if you can award tickets to the political workers at grassroots level, this is something, a good step, a good trend.
Okay.
The ticket should not always be awarded to the rich and the influential people. I mean, and PTI has a good tradition of awarding such tickets to political workers.
And you can categorically say that there is no rapprochement going on between People's Party and PTI. You
see, in the government, while in the government, and especially in the background of Prime Minister's call for all political parties to work together election reforms, I think we would not discourage any negotiation or any resolution or any talks with People's Party or any other political party.
Right. That kind of answers my question. But Ali Rashid Saab, once again, let me ask you: is there something going on between your party and PTI? Ali Rashid Saab, can you hear me?
Something going on in PTI.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your question? Is something going?
Is there a rapprochement going on between your party and the ruling party at the center?
I'm not understanding the question. Is there something going on?
Is there some kind of arrangement between your party and PTI? Because when there is an arrangement, it seems that usually it is called a seat adjustment, where you field either no candidate or you field a weak candidate and the other side then wins. So is there a possibility that PTI and People's Party decided to work together to defeat PMLN in Karachi?
Okay. No such thing has happened, and as you can see, I think not a day goes by where our leadership does not criticize the governance of the PTI leadership and the Prime Minister and how he's feeling to give relief to the common man with the inflation, with the bad policies, etc., etc. So there is no such thing happening, and PTI itself, I mean, in Karachi, give me one person to have, which would be a good person they could feel to actually win this election. They don't have anybody. They don't even have, they didn't even have polling agents. If you actually go and check the ground realities of the election, by 8, 9 o'clock, all the camps were folded. And they were packing up and leaving because they knew from the beginning that they will not win. And even a call went viral of Khurram Sheikh Rahman, their MPA, who was trying to make calls to the local leadership and workers of PTI that it's becoming a very embarrassing situation for us, because the camps, the people who actually put the camps are there, but there are no people, no political workers who can actually sit there. So, and this is breaking, that all went viral. So it was pretty evident. We didn't need to actually have any kind of understanding.
No, I understand that, Ali Baishu, just to remind you that when your party was at the center and PMLN was holding the fort in Lahore or Punjab, at that time you used to actually support each other, but you used to score points like this as well. And the same happened when Nawaz Sharif was ruling the country and your party was reduced to sin. But regardless of that, let me ask you about NF 249. You continuously keep on talking about the performance because your party actually stuck out its neck in support of the transparency of NA 249. Does it not bother you that in an election that usually is supposed to produce a result by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we had to wait till 4 in the morning to actually hear the final results?
I think it was very welcoming from our side that we actually got the results by 4 o'clock. If you actually look at the general election in 2018, the RTS crashed, which by the way they're talking about the electronic voting system, the RTS crashed, and we got the results of Karachi after 2 days. Can you imagine the difference?
Yeah, but that was general election, sir. We are talking about one isolated election where there is hardly any pressure. The turnout is 21%, and even that is a reach. Frankly, the kind of turnout we witnessed on polling stations was really disheartening. And you don't find any problem with the fact that with so little to count, they still had to wait till 4 o'clock to give the results?
You're right. I totally agree with you, and I think that is something with the Election Commission. It should be taken up with them. But I'll tell you something else, which also should be appreciated. I do understand that PMLN and People's Party are at loggerheads, whatever. But you should see how we are conducting ourselves. Although we may have some issues, but when PMLN actually went to the ECP saying that there should be a recount, PPP actually welcomed it. Unlike PTI in the general elections, and everybody was protesting and saying this is, everything went, haywire. PTI wasn't ready to do anything like that about a recount, and nothing like that happened in the 2018 elections. But here, I think you should give credit where it's due. Although we are in the end competing with each other, and it was a very close election, right? So you have to give us that, benefit of the doubt that we will have issues with each other.
Right. But there is a component that is addressed to PTI, so I'm going to come back to you as well. But let me first go to Naseem Siddiqui Saab. Naseem Siddiqui Saab, you have since especially whenever I asked you about NA 249. First you went to the POG, then you actually came to the electoral reforms. Let me ask you about electoral reforms. What are the features apart from EVM that need reforming right now?
Because you have seen, Farrukh, that from the last many years, whenever there are elections in Pakistan, whoever is defeated, they started saying that it's rigging in the elections.
But that is a cultural thing, that is an attitudinal thing. You cannot change it with laws, can you?
We can change with laws, yes. When I was very young and hope that you will be very young at that time when Imran Khan was playing cricket.
We'll have to actually work out
Definitely.
the data to say who's younger. But okay.
You are younger. You are younger to me. So when Imran Khan was saying that we need neutral umpires, everyone was saying that no, it's not possible. How can be done? And the batsmen, especially, or the bowlers, they were very much angry when they didn't get the right decisions from the umpires. Now you have seen that Imran Khan is not playing cricket anymore. But the people, those who are playing cricket, the players, they are getting benefit out of that neutral umpiring. They can challenge the decision of umpire.
But hang on. In cricket, there is a discipline. In 99% cases, those who lose, they lose in front of your eyes, right?
Yeah.
And disputed cricket matches are rare, even before there was a neutral umpire. You are talking about a country of 210 million people. There, things are messy. Can you use the cricket metaphor here?
Out of these messy things, as you have seen that in UK elections, we used to vote there with a lead pencil. We just marked with a lead pencil, and the parties, those who were contesting before the election, they blame each other for many things. But when the results comes, they just say that, okay, thank you very much, you are the winner, so congratulations to you.
That's so a cultural stage of maturity, and now even in the US we are seeing there has been a regression.
Yeah, you have
so
seen
how
that
are you going to change that with laws?
With the laws, it can be changed, because if the laws are crystal clear, things are clear, then you can go for that one, and people will, when the people of Pakistan, they will know that it is crystal clear, and things are changed with the reforms. When they will accept it, then the parties will start accepting it. It will take time, definitely. For our nation, it will take time, but reforms are the need of the time.
Right, that is true, but we have to still qualify what reforms. Ahmad Jawad Sahab, I don't want to actually repeatedly go to EVMs, because EVMs are after all machines, and we have seen in two countries that disputed. In America they were disputed because of the Dominion system, and in India nobody disputes it, but we know that there is something fishy going on despite the machines. Human beings run those machines. The question is, what other reforms are you proposing apart from machines?
Role of institutions.
Which is?
Starting from public administration, whether it is Ministry of Education or it is any other government department which participate as presiding officer or ROs or other polling staff.
So what changes?
I mean, if People's Party is ruling in Sindh government, so they take the advantage of that public administration. If it was PMLN government in Punjab, they used to take it. And I think one thing which PTI has changed, or you can say during the government of PTI has changed, that never in the past the ruling party would lose an election in its province or at the federal level if they are in the government. And it is only happening in PTI government time, so which shows that PTI believes in free and fair election. And even if that means that we are losing it.
But
so I think coming back to the role of institutions, so it starts with the civil administration, then it is the role of security organizations, for example Rangers, for example police, because we have seen blame game going on, the security institutions also, and then most important I think the election commission, who can authenticate the result with the help of Form 45 and other supporting things.
No, I totally appreciate, and these issues have been issues in our lives as well, right? Regarding bureaucracy that you actually pointed out, as per the law, you can see that law states that the election commission can take control of the entire bureaucracy, the administrative departments that are related to that area where elections are being held. It is at least on books, right? Second thing, regarding Rangers and Army, they are deployed when civilians ask them to be deployed. Now, what qualitative change can come when law at least, or in principle, is very clear and gives the Election Commission all the powers?
I think, Farrukh, it definitely has to start with the Election Commission. Probably we need to be more discreet, we need to be more careful when there is a selection of Election Commission members and Election Commission staff and the implementation or the support to the Election Commission, whether that support has to come from the military institutions or from the civil institutions. Otherwise, sometimes Election Commission also has complaints, not getting the required cooperation and the support. So that's what I said, the role of institution. And I just, mentioned the institutions which needs reforms as far as elections is concerned. So their role can be more transparent, could be more visible to the public, instead of those rumors which we start hearing on the media when there is an election, that the vote count has slowed down, the presiding
was just repeated in front of
you. So
story.
Anybody, you see, if you are having a sequence of vote count and then suddenly there is a gap, so automatically there are doubts in the minds of people who are following those elections. And that is like sowing the seed of mistrust. So whatever the result comes, so everybody would look towards that time when the vote count was slowed down. Or if there is any presiding officer who is not able to perform his duty.
Ahmed Jawad Sahab, there is a reason why your party recently criticized the Election Commission also, because the Chief Election Commissioner is not the man you appointed. I mean, the PM has the authority, but then it goes to arbitration, it goes to a committee, in the end it went to the court and came back. And the only reason was that the Prime Minister did not want to talk to the opposition leader. This time also it seems that you are going through the Speaker National Assembly. What is the harm in actually calling the other politicians?
Farrukh, we very frequently we get this question that the Prime Minister does not want to talk to opposition. But just imagine in an environment where opposition starts from the term selected for elected Prime Minister, just like their prime ministers were elected in 2013 or 2008. So, if it starts with that, and with every assembly session, with every talk show, with every media exposure, there are blames and there are accusations. So, the kind of environment we have, so it's not easy that then the Prime Minister has to talk to the opposition in the same environment. But I think right now, after 2.5 years, there is a very positive signal from the Prime Minister. Whether it has come through a tweet, whether it has gone as an instruction to Speaker National Assembly, whether it is a mention during a speech about the need of election reforms, and whether when he says that PDM, we should not be focusing on opposition at the PDM, we should be focusing on our performance. So I think these are positive signals from Prime Minister, and I hope with these positive signals we might get the attention of opposition.
Let us go to the opposition then. Ali Rashid Saab, here's a big question. Since 2002, repeatedly we have tried to reform the electoral process. And despite that, there are disagreements all the time. There are sacrificial animals as well. We always blame certain institutions for whatever has gone wrong, despite the fact that they are the ones who actually sacrifice for the people as well. But regardless, every time you reform the system, in the end, some political party comes forward and complains about the system. Is it the electoral system that needs a reform, or is it the political parties that need reform?
I think it's a bit of both, but I do agree with you that no matter how many changes we bring about, the political parties and their mindset and the complaining and bickering will not stop. I'll give you an example. My friend from PTI was talking about the fact that for the first time in history, PTI, a ruling party, lost the election in the province when they had the chief minister and the PTI and Punjab government, but that's not true. You see, when you talk about Sindh government, they say Sindh government uses the machinery, but I'll give them a very recent example. In the by-election which actually happened in Karachi, Defence, Clifton, PTI from Karachi won the election when we had the same system government, so it's not just the parties or the system which is at fault. Sometimes we need to accept
let me remind you, it is not a competition to lose elections from your own province. But go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. I do agree, but I'm just saying that you just have to accept that you're unpopular. You're just, look at everything. Your Prime Minister is not willing to talk to anybody. Forget about electoral reforms that you're saying he has to go through the Speaker, very rightfully so. Very good, valid point which you pointed out. But look at this man, he's not willing to talk to the Chief Ministers of any province. When he visits any province, the protocol by law laid out is that you have to go, you stay at the CM house, you meet the Chief Minister, you discuss the issues of the city, of the province, and you take people. Not once has he acted like a Prime Minister. If we call him selected, then he should come out and change, shatter those preconceived notions and misconceptions and say, no, I'm not selected, I'm elected, I'm going to act like an elected Prime Minister, and I'm going to be a people's person and forget my differences for the people of
Before we digress too much, let me come back to the electoral reform issue. And given that you have actually in the past contested elections and won as well, let me ask you, to your understanding, what are the areas where we still need reform? I can understand EVMs because they at least, do away with the middleman. But what else can be done?
Well, I think a lot of rigging. I think the security situation. I think majority of our elections which take place now, I think, are pretty free and fair because all the sensitive areas are predefined. All the sensitive polling, the station where there could be some issue. Now the army or the rangers are present on ground to actually avoid those situations. So I think we are in a much better place than which we used to be. Going forward, ECP is more empowered
How do you empower ECP? ECP doesn't have its own army, it doesn't have its own tanks and guns. So what exactly do you mean by empowering an election commission?
Basically, but they do have the power. If any ECP representative who's present at the election can bring out the army. The army and the rangers are supposed to stay outside. They're just there for the security. But if any representative from the election commission feels something is going on which is shady or questionable, he can actually bring the people inside and have everything checked out. So they do have powers. It's not like they don't. But I firmly believe that I think political parties should accept defeat and do some, look deep within themselves. Have they really performed? If PTI today has lost an election from Karachi, have they really been there for the people of Karachi? Have they actually worked? Are the elected representatives from PTI in Karachi, have they been present in the areas? They have not. Everybody knows that. So it's not a surprise that from being the top party to become the last party on the list.
Right. But let me remind you that this time it wasn't PTI which was actually making a lot of hue and cry about Karachi. It was one party that your party actually enabled, empowered, and whose reactionary narrative was lent credence to by your leadership. I'm talking about PMLN. And today, the same kind of language is being used against your party by the very same people. So that might be a learning moment or a teaching moment for everyone here. But let me come back to Naseem Siddiqui sir. 19 years, you and I have covered electoral reforms. Do you recall any time when campaign finance issues actually came surfaced? Because an army marches on its stomach, an election is fought through money. And how do political parties collect funds? How do they use that money? And frankly, how great a party is, because one of the party, I'm not going to name that party, but its leader, one of the central leaders told me that they actually take care of the treasury by selling tickets. So who's going to reform these matters?
These things should be reformed by all of these parties. That's why the government is saying that sit down and bring reforms. As you were saying that a lot of money is involved. Yes, there is a lot of money is involved. That should be scrutinized by Election Commission. Election Commission is responsible for each and everything. As you were saying that the Election Commission don't have any army, they don't have any police. But you said as per the verdict of Supreme Court that Election Commission is fully authorized in the days of elections.
I agree. And this is as per law as well, not only Honorable Supreme Court. But let me give you an example. When you think of Election Commission, you must be thinking of a body of people who sit under a roof, right?
Right.
Not every district has that many officials, and even the central, department doesn't have that kind of workforce that might be needed to actually take care of the disclosure laws. For example, you say that law says that you have spent you have to spend no more than 2 million rupees, and I am your opponent. I come and say that you spent 100 million, right?
Right.
Election Commission doesn't have any method, unless I prove it, to actually go and check the detail of what is going on.
Election Commission should have taken some help from other departments like anti-corruption, FIA.
Will that happen?
They can take help out of them.
Anti-corruption in all constituencies.
Oh yes, obviously they should empower them that they could do each and every, not on in every constituency. The rigging blames are in few constituencies. So wherever there is a complaint, they should go for the FIA.
No, but I'm not talking about rigging allegations. I'm talking about use of money, which you and I know. There have been elections when a candidate actually is distributing motorbikes or cars to people, right? And money bags.
I think that comes under anti-corruption. You have seen many.
No, that doesn't. It comes under electoral laws. And there has to be some kind of fixing of this problem. But the problem is, everybody keeps on talking about fixing the ballot box, right? Not the money.
I agree. There are many things, and this is one of them which needs attention. I agree.
Because
I'm so happy. I have to conclude the program here, and I got the kind of nod I was looking for.
Today, I think they have 19 points for the reforms. There are too many things.
Right. Money is by far the most important thing. And the Prime Minister Imran Khan Sahab knows it, because in 2002, I think, or 3, I interviewed him regarding cricket, body PCB. And he said that now there's so much money in the department that not a politician, not a cricketer, but a money manager or a business manager should be taking care of it, right? So that actually tells you that he understands it, but then he'll have to actually really put his own skin in the game by reaching out to the opposition. I'm told that we have to conclude the program here. Ahmed Jawad sir, thank you very much sir for your time. Naseem Siddiqui sir, thank you very much for your precious time. Ali Rashid sir, thank you very much for your valuable input and time as well. Because we have listened to our participants. These are important questions. We have been asking them for quite some time. One day, Charlie Brown will get lucky. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.